Hello, dear friend. I want to tell you a story that happened to a friend of mine on a cruise. Enjoy listening to it. I woke up at night in my cabin with a dry throat. This often happened when I drank a lot, after which my body just refused to go back to sleep, all sleep gone. I was alone in my cabin. I had gone to bed before anyone else, and it was still 12 o'clock on the clock. I decided to look for my own, and since sleep was not going to last that night, I felt no headache, only heartburn and the fact that I would not take any more alcohol, at least not until tomorrow morning. But I couldn't leave my quarters. First, I couldn't find my key in my pockets in case I returned, and second, something prevented me from opening the door by pulling it open. It was completely black. There were no windows, and it was very difficult to see anything in it without lights or my contact lenses. I found the light switch in the bathroom, put the lenses on there, and later saw my phone on the lighted part of the bed, put the flashlight on it. By the door, holding onto a chair, stood Cynthia, a student who had come from Latvia, a friend of mine. I wasn't in my quarters. It was the girls' quarters where we had been hanging out before I passed out, and Cynthia seemed to have had a lot to drink, too. But her friends wouldn't leave her here and me in her stateroom. "Cynthia, you can get up." She muttered something to herself, then, more clearly, "Is there water here?" I looked, found a large bottle, but there was nowhere to pour it. "Let's try to get up. I'll put you on the bed." "I'm on top, sleeping. You lie down." I took her card and went out. The door to the other cabin across the hall was open. There were girls my age there. Since I still had alcohol in me, I shamelessly peeked in on them and asked, "Girls, do you have a plastic cup? You're shouting in there," said one. "Are you having fun out there? We have already moved to another cabin, in the bow of the ship. There will be no more shouting." "Have they gone to bed in your cabin?" the same woman asked. "Yes, I woke up and found my friend at the door." "Yes, we both had too much to drink." "Okay, I'll give you one. Are you going out in the morning to Stockholm for a walk?" "No, I'm not going, maybe the others. If you want, we can go together at night." I couldn't sleep for a long time that night, and I went out on deck twice to smoke, hoping to meet that pretty girl from the next cabin, and I kept looking back at her door. And didn't even think to take advantage of Cynthia, who was sleeping peacefully less than a meter away from me in the bunk next door. This stranger had short, shoulder-length, flax-colored hair, a delicate, lovely face and frail body, a thin voice, small breasts but large hips, a confident approach and a predatory look. Some coquette. I am almost certain she was making eyes at me, but I had no opportunity to continue the conversation. I should have stayed in that hut somehow longer, rather than leave so quickly. I did not meet my brothers. They must have been in the bow of the ship, and I did not remember which cabin, though I did not want to be with them. Everything I needed was within walking distance. The next morning I woke up around 1 o'clock in the dark and stuffy air. Mine had definitely already left for town. After all, I had told them yesterday that I would stay on the ship and go to the sauna. Cynthia ended up in the same place. She wasn't taken either. I quickly got used to the darkness. Cynthia was almost invisible. She was completely covered with a blanket and barely breathing, turning her back against the wall up close. Judging by the agitated upper bunk and the open bag, this was where they had come and slept. Then Cynthia hissed, and I pretended to be asleep. After a while she got up and went to the bathroom. Then she went back to bed. I turned to see her. She too was standing against the wall, her back to me, the blanket missing the sheet, the sweatpants I'd seen her in yesterday now lying on the floor. She wiggled her legs occasionally. Her arms and her whole body, except for the outstretched part of her body, were out of sight. If I had moved a little, I could have touched her, barely. But I shoved my hand under the blanket. After a while she became audible, and I stopped for fear of frightening her away. I pulled back the blanket and continued, more slowly, without taking off my panties. She hissed again, turning toward me. I managed to pull my hand away, but I didn't lift the blanket. I closed my eyes. I could hear her breathing, and she hissed some more. I tried not to move, but it was almost impossible. I definitely couldn't hold back a couple of times. Cynthia turned around again. From the corner of my eye I saw that she was almost blanketless. What a shame that she was wearing that sack. She hadn't taken off her sweatshirt, but it was even more exciting that she could still open up to me. Soon Cynthia got up and went to the bathroom. I heard the water turn on. She was taking a shower. I got up. I listened. I don't know why I pulled the handle. The door was closed. I quickly lay back down and pretended to be asleep again, though there might have been something waiting for me there, and the door might have opened if I had been more persistent. The water was still running. After a minute, Cynthia looked out. She came toward me, not at all audible. Her feet and hands were wet and cold. Slowly she leaned toward me, touched her lips to mine, and we began to kiss. I held her palm in my hand, not letting her stop me. I stroked her shoulder, her hair, and only when I touched her lips and she accepted me. I let her go, went to the door. She looked at me without saying anything, but I could read the desire in her eyes. No, leave the door open. On the ship, there is almost no one left, not counting the servants. Soon they'll be walking around, knocking on doors, changing the wet linen Cynthia left behind. Maybe this bed, too, will have to be renewed when I'm done with you. I hope we have enough time not to interrupt, and that Cynthia won't look in the stateroom opposite. Please write if you liked the story. Your comments are very important to me. I will enjoy your stories very often. See you soon. Take care.